What's going on, and welcome to the MLB DFS Q&A show. My name is Tom Vecchio. I'm here for the next half hour to answer your questions about tonight's 6-game MLB slate. Locks at 7:05. As I went over things this morning on the solo shot, we're in a pretty good spot for tonight's slate. We have no weather issues we need to be worried about. We are free of that. Just to give that a quick recap. This show, as always, can be found at 4 p.m. on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook page. Make sure to give it a like, follow, or subscribe on the given platform. That is greatly appreciated. As I said, 6 games, locks at 7:05. We have a few confirmed lineups. We're still waiting on some. I still think that we're in a good spot. We should see some offenses be very, very chalky tonight. We do have some very powerful offenses up at the top. They're all in good spots. The Astros, the Reds, the Yankees, the White Sox, and the Blue Jays are leading the way. But, of course, we'll be looking to some other teams as well. Starting off, Crooked Tooth is asking, what's the winning lineup for tonight? It's a great question. If I had that answer every single day, I would probably be on a beach somewhere. And not here. I'd be like in Bora Bora somewhere. DJ on Facebook is asking Sonny Gray versus Pittsburgh. Yes, of course, Sonny Gray is shaping up to be one of, if not the top pitchers on tonight's slate. Now, there's an argument to be made for, I would say, 3 pitchers to be the chalkiest on tonight's slate, and that would be Sonny Gray, Framber Valdez, or going to Nestor Cortez all the way down at the bottom. I spoke about Cortez and Gray at length this morning on the solo shot. Didn't really touch on Framber Valdez, but I do think, he's a solid option as well. For me, I'm going to be leaning towards Sonny Gray as my number 1 overall pitcher because we want this strikeout rate that he brings very consistent at 29%. If we look to the pitchers on today's slate, these are all the pitchers on all of today's games, not just today's slate, but we look to Framber Valdez, and he's down at 21.5%. That is significantly lower than Sonny Gray up at 29. So yes, Sonny Gray versus Pittsburgh is my number 1 pitcher on tonight's slate. I still think that there's room to get some of the Toronto hitters in your lineup. You want to pay up for Houston or the Yankees, whoever it might be. There's plenty of room on this slate. Going to the other end would be going to Nestor Cortez to really, really get some value, and then you can literally roster whoever you want. Savon is asking favorite secondary stack for today. That would be the Cleveland Indians. Now, they're only coming in with a 4.13 implied run total, but they're going up against Ross Stripling tonight, a pitcher that I mentioned this morning on the solo shot. 2.26 home runs per 9 he's allowing to righties, 1.60 home runs per 9 to lefties. That is terrible. We also see him coming in with an over 43% fly ball rate or higher versus both lefties and righties. So we look to the Indians for plenty of power. I wrote up Franmil Reyes today as one of my favorite under-the-radar home run options, and the Indians make a great secondary stack tonight due to the salaries that they have. Now, J-Ram and Franmil Reyes are really the only 2 expensive hitters on their lineup. If you're going with them as a stack, maybe you're paying up for the Yankees or Houston or whoever it might be. You can't afford both of them. You might have to pick and choose between Franmil and Ramirez. It's kind of a coin flip. I would take Franmil. I want the multi-home run upside. I think he has a little bit more than Jose Ramirez. But then we drop down, and all of these salaries are so easy to get into your lineups. And then looking to some of the power that they bring. Of course, some of these players are, Luplo's not on the team anymore. Josh Naylor's hurt. Rosario's not on the team anymore. But Bobby Bradley, 247 ISO in this split. Bobby Bradley's $2,500. Now, Bradley Zimmer doesn't bring a whole lot of power, but he's at the top of the Indians lineup. Usually once we get that confirmed, and obviously brings plenty of value. So I'm looking to the Indians as a really, really solid option tonight. Only a 4.13 implied run total. I do not think Ross Stripling is that good of a pitcher. Alvin on YouTube's asking, do you prefer Toku or Gray if we're doing a single entry? And if we're doing a 4-3-1 top 2 stacks for that type of lineup? Well, for the single entry, if you're trying to avoid, if you're taking everything in consideration, you would go with Toussaint because he's probably going to be less popular compared to Sonny Gray. And he is boasting a 28.5% strikeout rate this year. So he can compete with Sonny Gray when it comes to his potential strikeout rate. So if you are worried about how popular Sonny Gray is going to be, you would simply shift to Toussaint because he won't be as popular, and you take a few $100s of savings. And then for a 4-3-1 lineup, I really think Toronto's in a phenomenal spot. going up against Cleveland and Tristan McKenzie, who sure has a 28.5% strikeout rate this season, but he's also allowing 1.99 home runs per nine, and he has a 51% fly ball rate. So the home run upside for Toronto tonight is absolutely phenomenal. Really doesn't matter who in their lineup we can be seeing. So Toronto would be my number one. I would probably then turn to the Reds as the 3 stack. And then if you can get in Reyes or Judge or Stanton, whoever might be as that one-off, that's where you want some of that home run upside. Tim Vest is back asking for another money line bet. He was here yesterday. I think all 3 of those yesterday, the Red Sox, the Phillies, and whoever else it was, all came away as winners. Phillies, Red Sox, can't remember the third, but the problem with tonight's slate is that there's and the Braves last night. That's who it was. Those 3 teams, they all came away as winners. There's a lot of heavy favorites tonight, and that's a bit of an issue if you're looking for some betting value. So the Braves would be my pick again. They're also another team I'm kind of targeting as an under the radar option because I don't think Wade LeBlanc's a good pitcher. I still think the Braves are in the same spot they've been over the past 2 days, facing a lefty. They have righties that have power. So Braves at -120 would be a solid option. And then if you want to fade some of that chalk, the Indians at +158 would be good if they get that power going against Ross Stripling. Again, like laying $2.50 or just about $2 to 1 for the Yankees or the White Sox, the Astros, whoever it might be. I personally think that's a lot. If you want to parlay some of the favorites together, again, I don't know your betting tendencies or what you're comfortable with, but I would say the Braves, maybe the Indians, and then maybe you go with Braves, Indians, and Yankees if you want to put them in parlay, so you get some amount of safety. Savon is asking a method question. What's the best type of stack to do today? Today, I don't think today's any that different compared to most other days where I'm still going to be focusing in on, a main 4-3-1 stack. Smaller slates is generally where I shift away from a 4-4 stack in terms of a large majority of my lineups. So if I'm making 25 lineups, I might do, half of them as, or 13 out of them as 4-4, and then the other 12 of them as 4-3-1 on normal slates. Tonight, since it's a smaller slate, that's where I incorporate a 4-2-2 slate a little bit more, where I'll take the main stack that I like, whether it be Toronto, and then add in 2 hitters from Cincy, 2 hitters from Houston, et cetera, et cetera. So I do mix things up just a little bit on smaller slates. So a 4-3-1 stack or a 4-2-2 stack is generally where I lean towards a bit more on smaller slates. Jerry's saying Houston and Cincy, I think that means for the win in terms of Tim's best moneyline bets. They are heavy favorites. Crooked Truth is asking, what do you mean by chalky? I mean by chalky is going to be super popular, where Sonny Gray is just, without a doubt, Sonny Gray is the best pitcher on tonight's slate, where he has the highest combination of, and we have to factor all this in. He has a favorable salary where it's not overly expensive. He has a very soft matchup against Pittsburgh. He has a high strikeout rate, and of course, we want those strikeouts. That's what brings us upside in terms of fantasy point scoring. So we combine all those things, and ultimately, Sonny Gray is just the best, most consistent option on tonight's pitching slate. Now, this is not to say the other pitchers aren't going to perform, but all things considered, we want to be looking to Sonny Gray. And then when it comes to chalky hitters, it's just, there's a really bad pitcher going. Everyone wants to be targeting this bad pitcher, so everyone's going to be rostering Toronto. Everyone's going to be rostering New York or Houston, whoever it might be. So chalky just means very popular. DJ's asking what I think of Tucson. I wrote him up today on numberFire as a potential under the radar option. I just think he's going to go a bit overlooked compared to Sonny Gray, where a lot of people will say, I can find an extra $800 and just pay up for Gray, who's at home. He's a favorite. He has a little bit of a softer matchup going against Pittsburgh. So I think people are going to be spending up to the top for Sonny Gray, or they're going to be dropping down and taking Nestor Cortez at $5,500, who is going for a second straight start. 5 innings and 5 strikeouts against Tampa Bay with 1 earned run in his most recent start, and 27 FanDuel points might not seem like a lot when you're in terms of, this is my pitcher only getting me 27 FanDuel points, but he's $5,500, right? He doesn't need to go out there and put up 50 points or whatever it is, when you're paying up $10,000 for, Cole or Scherzer or DeGrom or whoever it might be. He's $5,500. If he puts up 30 points again, or roughly around there, that's awesome. And then you can pay up for literally any hitting stack that you want with that savings. It's absolutely phenomenal. Michael on YouTube saying Pittsburgh lineup tonight looks quite weak. More reason to like Gray. Absolutely looking to go to Gray in all formats. Alvin White is asking process question. Also, do you look into recent forms of a pitcher and offenses you want to stack, or just focus on their overall numbers? So it's both. You want to look at their overall form. You want to look at last 2 weeks of a hitting stack, or a pitcher. Obviously, pitchers, I can't just look at two starts and say, okay, he pitched 10 innings in these 2 starts. What are we looking at? I'll look back over the entire month of July, since June, or I should say since the start of July, since the start of June, and then his season overall, saying, okay, is his strikeout rate dipping in the past 2 months? Or actually, okay, his strikeout rate's the same. He just gave up a few home runs here and there, and that's why his starts look bad. Or, a couple of hitters that they had a couple of bad games, but, they balance it out with home run upside that we're always chasing. So it's a bit of both. You can't just say, oh, I'm only looking at his starts since the beginning of June, and he's been bad since the beginning of June, when it's really he's just getting burned by a couple of home runs, but his strikeout rate is still strong. So it's like halfway between both. You don't want to put blinders on and block out information. You want to say, how does his overall season-long stats reflect what he's been currently doing? Are we on the same path? Is he regressing? Is he getting better? Blah, blah, blah. Jared on Facebook is saying, do you play Nick Castellanos in his first game back? Absolutely. If Castellanos is able to go, which he is, he was activated off the IL today. I mentioned that on the solo shot this morning that he was expected to be. I want Castellanos tonight. He's a phenomenal hitter. He's $3,500. I think that's relatively affordable for a player of his caliber. I want a top 4 stack from the Reds. I'm going to be going straight to this exact 4-man stack here of Votto, Winker, India, and Castellanos. I'm also going to be dipping down a little bit because I need a little bit of value in some lineup builds where paying up for Sonny Gray plus some hitters is getting expensive. So I'll certainly look to drop down a little bit and take some shares of Kyle Farmer and Tyler Naquin, just to go with like a 3, 4, 6, 7 kind of lineup build, just to differentiate and also get that needed salary relief. Jerry on Facebook is asking, favorite stacks of the day: Atlanta, New York, Cincy. What's your take? I'm on board with all of those. I think New York and Cincy are going to be very chalky. But then Atlanta, a team that probably shouldn't be too popular. They're kind of falling in this mid-tier, which could have them going overlooked, but they're going up against Wade LeBlanc, who's a pitcher that's been in the majors for a number of years. He's giving up too many home runs. Like, this is a combination of too many home runs, a pitcher that does not strike hitters out, too many walks, and we're seeing some good fly balls from him. That just has me leaning more towards the Braves. And like I said, they've been in the same spot the past couple of days. They're going up against John Lester 2 nights ago, Jay Happ last night, now for Cincinnati, now for St. Louis. These lefty pitchers that don't strike out hitters, that give up too many fly balls. Why are we not going to so many of the Braves hitters tonight? I am fully on board with the Braves tonight. Let's just give a quick refresh to this to see if their lineup has been confirmed. The Braves, just confirmed. Oh, and Gary is out for the Yankees tonight, so that'll change things up. So Higashioka is now starting for them. All right, so for the Braves, Albie, Soler, Freeman, Riley, Swanson, Duvall. All of those hitters are in play. The top 6 for the Braves are all absolutely in play. Now, Soler's numbers are inflated, saying that he has a 600 ISO. Versus left-handed pitching is obviously not the case this season because it only accounts for his time specifically on the Braves. Obviously, it's going to be much lower than 600. But Soler, historically a great hitter versus lefties, plenty of power. Swanson is someone I have a ton of interest in tonight. Really like his hitting profile versus Wade LeBlanc. And then going to Adam Duvall, going to Freddie Freeman, going to Ozzie Albies are all players I'll be looking to. So Cincy, absolutely. Going to the Yankees, absolutely. And then the Braves, if they're going to be undervalued tonight, along with the Indians, teams that are not going to be heavily targeted, that's exactly where I want to be going. Do I like the Royals tonight? I think I understand why people are going there, going up against Dallas Keuchel. As I said this morning, Dallas Keuchel isn't a big strikeout pitcher. I'm going to have a few shares of him tonight, just because the matchup versus Kansas City is good overall, but we do see Dallas Keuchel struggling a little bit when it comes to the home runs this season. Let's take a little bit of a more look at some of his numbers. So Not a big strikeout pitcher. Walks are okay. They're not terrible. Here's the issue. He is a big time ground ball pitcher, 54%. Like, there's a difference between a pitcher like Wade LeBlanc, who's a low strikeout pitcher, and a high fly ball pitcher. Dallas Keuchel is a low strikeout pitcher and a predominantly ground ball pitcher. So he really does not give up a whole lot of fly balls or hard contact. Now, this isn't to say, going against the grain and taking maybe a one-off from the Royals as an option for some home run upside, going to Sal Perez, who's been hot as of late, going to Carlos Santana, who has some home run upside. I think that's certainly fine. I'm not looking to fully stack the Royals, but I do think that taking a one-off or two from them wouldn't be the worst call, especially if you go with like a 4-2-2 lineup build. Be a little bit different in tournaments. Grab Santana and Perez. That could be good for Kansas City. Mike on Facebook is asking, who's the best pitcher tonight? The easy answer is Sonny Gray. He's the best pitcher on tonight's slate. That's just the reality of the situation. That's the reality of a 6-game slate where we can say that he is the best pitcher on tonight's slate. Framber Valdez, I think, is slightly more expensive than he should be, especially given the fact that he has a strikeout rate that's 8% lower than Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray's up at 29%. Framber Valdez is down at 21.5%. So Sonny Gray's the easy answer on who's the best pitcher on tonight's slate. Nathan is saying that Cardinals are also playing horrible. That's true. That's why I have a bit of interest in Toussaint tonight. Boasting a strong strikeout rate this season. I'll give her this at 28.2%. He has a very small 17-inning sample size, mostly ground balls, mostly medium contact from him. Again, small sample size, but this Cardinals lineup is not one that I'm afraid of. They're in the bottom 15 or bottom 20 of the league when it comes to ISO, when it comes to WRC+, when it comes to fly balls generated versus righties this season. And the White Sox, Alvin is saying, am I on board with the White Sox tonight? Yes, I'm going to be on board the White Sox going up against Daniel Lynch more than the Royals. The White Sox are going to be in this tier of chalky teams. So whether you roll with the White Sox, the Blue Jays, or the Reds, or whoever it might be, they're all in a very, very good spot tonight. I didn't touch on the White Sox specifically this morning just because I want to differentiate, roll with some different teams here and there. I think I spoke about the White Sox a couple days ago. So just to mix things up, I really do like the White Sox tonight. I'm going to have plenty of exposure to them. I think you should be going to them very confidently. Who are you prioritizing on Cleveland after Reyes and Ramirez? Michael on YouTube is asking. That would be Bobby Bradley. Let's flip to Cleveland. Bobby Bradley, $2,500. Obviously very affordable. 247 ISO this season versus righties is obviously great to see. Bradley doesn't generate a whole lot of fly balls, but he does have a very strong 41.2% home run to fly ball ratio. So when he is getting the ball in the air, it's going for home runs a very strong percentage of the time. So Bobby Bradley at $2,500 with a 247 ISO would be the next player. That would be the ideal 3-man stack from the Indians, would be Ramirez, Reyes, and Bradley. And then if you want to add in something like Zimmer at 2,200 just to round out a stack and you grab a bit of value, that wouldn't be the worst case for Cleveland stack. Nathan on Facebook is asking, Rizzo show tonight? Sure. I'm on board with the Yankees tonight, whether let's just double check their lineup so Gary is out. So LeMahieu, Rizzo, Judge, Stanton, Gallo, Treyas, Odor, Higashioka, and Davis. So Davis is the newly acquired Jonathan Davis, right here, minimum salary. The Yankees just picked him up off of waivers the other day. So, minimum salary, if you were to, do a wraparound stack, again, just to be different in tournaments, because most people they're going to be stacking the Yankees. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. We know that, but just to be a little bit different, it doesn't hurt to take 9, 1, 2, 3. Or 9, 1, 2, 4, something like that, just to mix it up a little bit. And you're getting a player that's at minimum salary. And ultimately, he's on a team with a 5.46 implied run total. So that's those are the situations where I do go to a wraparound stack. It's where I know I'm trusting the offense overall. And just also because we're dealing with a smaller slate where, I want to prioritize paying it for Sonny Gray. And that isn't the easiest when I'm trying to pay up for multiple hitters in the high $3,000 range. Or if we go to Toronto, multiple hitters in the $4,000 range. We just need salary relief at some point. Jerry on Facebook is saying Homer City and St. Louis, Atlanta bats 2 through 6, all hitting homers. Listen, if that happens, I think we will all be very happy because, as I said, Atlanta should not be overly popular tonight. They should be less popular compared to some of these top teams. Going to the Braves are confirmed, right? We have the Braves. Yeah. Outside of Albies, who I understand you say doesn't have a ton of power, but Soler, Freeman, Riley, Swanson, and Duvall. Yes. Any of those hitters, all of those hitters, I want all of those hitters to hit home runs tonight. That would be great. Do you like Diaz or McCormick and value plays from Houston tonight? Let me just double check this to see if Houston is confirmed. They are not. So I'm on board with Houston tonight. It really comes down to what their lineup looks like. I would side with Almeida Diaz over Chas McCormick for Houston. Really looking to stay mostly in this, mid to upper tier. Obviously, Jordan and Kyle Tucker bring an immense amount of power from the left side. For Houston, I think you can be firmly looking to them going up against Griffin Jacks for Minnesota. Only 26 inning sample size in his first year in the majors. If we look to his splits, he's also not a big time strikeout pitcher, 20 and 18%. To over 2.5 home runs per 9 to righties, over 1.5 or at 1.5, I should say, versus lefties. I think we can be looking to plenty of the Houston bats tonight. I would side with Almeida Diaz as the value play from Houston. Braves won't need a lot of runs to win tonight. Nathan is saying yes, because I think you're implying, or someone said before that, the Cardinals are struggling right now, which is true. Savon, I'm looking for another secondary stack for today. I know Seattle was cheap for some players. Yes, Seattle's fine. I think Cleveland and Atlanta are probably my top two, quote unquote, secondary stacks, depending on who makes the lineup, depending on how cheap that you actually need. If you have a little bit of salary, Duvall and Swanson and Soler are not that expensive. But if you want to go to Seattle, I understand it. There's no doubt that they're in a good spot. It's not a great spot. Nestor Cortez is showing some good stuff, but Hangier has some great righty-lefty splits. I wouldn't hate looking to tie France. Abraham Toro's been very hot as of late. He's only $2,500, so I wouldn't hate looking there if you need the salary relief. But Cleveland, Atlanta are my favorite secondary stacks on tonight's slate. I guess you could put Seattle third. If you took a two-man stack from the Royals of Perez and Carlos Santana, I wouldn't hate that as a little mini stack for the Royals against Dallas Keuchel. That's not horrible when you're, they certainly have plenty of home run upside. It's just for the White Sox, if they get the lead, that bullpen for the White Sox is very strong. So certainly not something I enjoy picking on, especially if they're not going to get it done early. Who would you roster on the Reds? Anyone on the Reds? One through, where are the Reds? They got confirmed. 1 through 4 is my favorite stack. If we could pay for anyone, India, Winker, Castellanos, and Votto for the Reds is absolutely awesome. But again, I might have to take a few shares of Kyle Farmer or Tyler Naquin just to differentiate things. So going 3, 4, 6, 7 from the Reds isn't the worst. 3, 4, 6, 7 from the Reds. You get some power on the top. You get a little bit of value with Farmer and Naquin. You can certainly do that. What does WRC plus mean? So WRC plus stands for weighted runs created, which is right here. It's a better way of looking at, the plus, weighted runs created plus. It's a better way to show the value of a hitter. We don't use batting average. You don't want to use on base, any of those things. So you want to look at WOBA and WRC plus. It's when we account for not only what they do, but their park factor. If we account for the park factor, obviously, because some parks are significantly better for pitchers, some are significantly better for hitters. So if we account for park factor and weight what they're doing appropriately, we get a better number. So 100, a 100 WRC plus would be the league average. So anything below 100 would be below league average. So the Cardinals are, a 94 WRC plus or whatever versus right-handed pitching, which means that they are below the league average versus righties. Should I roll with Zavala, Refschneider, or Carpenter and Tom, it's a 2v2. Zavala and Refschneider or Carpenter and Tom Murphy. Yeah, Carpenter isn't the same hitter he was a number of seasons ago. Like Matt Carpenter in 2015, 2016 was like awesome versus both lefties and righties. I would go with Zavala and Refsnyder if you have to make that choice. Eric on YouTube is saying my favorite stack is Cincinnati, but I have Sonny Gray also. Is that too much exposure to one team? No. If you look to correlate things, it makes a little bit more sense in other sports, specifically when it comes to NHL. I've explained this more when I do our NHL podcast. But when it comes to baseball, there's less correlation. But ultimately, if Sonny Gray, in terms of real baseball, is going to pick up the win, right, and you want those win points, those win fantasy points out of Sonny Gray, how is that going to happen? Well, it's likely going to be happen by him pitching well, which means he's going to be limiting runs, going deep into the game, and probably picking up strikeouts. But it also means that Cincinnati is going to have the lead. Like, the only way he gets the win is if when he leaves the game, they have the lead, which means you want their hitters to produce runs. So they are correlated. Cincy goes off for a bunch of runs, Sonny Gray picks up the win. And how does he pick up the win? Which means he's probably, he's going 5, 6, 7 innings, limiting the runs he's giving up, and hopefully picking up strikeouts along the way. So you are kind of putting your eggs in one-ish basket, but if you're right, you're going to be very right. All right. And that's how you get to the top of tournaments. Nathan is saying that Matt Carpenter is done for baseball. Yeah, it's probably true. Cal, our wonderful producer, is saying, talk me into Jonathan Davis. Besides being the singer on Corny, allows me to get to Vladdy Jr. and Sonny Gray, which is true. And ultimately, there's a difference between taking value like on a bad team or like on a team that we're not expecting much from, or Jonathan Davis on the Yankees as the 9 hitter. He's on a home favorite that's expected, with the third highest implied run total. So looking to him it's not the ideal call, but you're still getting exposure to a good team, and you add him into a wraparound stack or whatever it might be. You have to take him as a one-off because he's minimum salary. Ultimately, that's fine if the rest of your lineup is looking perfect. Do you have any faith in Seattle that they do hit the ball well? They do hit the ball well at times. Ty France, Seager, and Hangier. Yes. Listen, there's no doubt that this is a positive park shift for Seattle, going from, I don't know if it's still called Safeco up in Seattle, but they're at Yankee Stadium regardless, which is a great hitter's park. I'm big on Mitch Haniger on most nights. He has a solid splits regardless if he's facing righties or lefties. Kyle Seager has, let me just bring up Seager real quickly, because he has actually, despite it being a lefty-lefty matchup for Kyle Seager, he actually has some significant fly ball numbers. Versus lefties this season. I think it's at like 45 or 50% versus lefties. Fly ball for Seager, it's at 48% versus lefties. So like a 48% fly ball rate and a 37% hard contact rate versus lefties at Yankee Stadium is certainly something that will play. So going to Seager or Hangier and France, I think, is a fine 3-man stack. DJ is saying, wouldn't Toronto be your number 1 stack? Yes, I think that Toronto has immense upside tonight going up against Tristan McKenzie. A 51% fly ball rate is absolutely horrible, coming in with a 16% walk rate. Right now, listen, he's got some gas on the mound, as I said on the solo shot this morning. A 28% strikeout rate is, nothing to laugh at, and 33 is absolutely unbelievable as well. And he showed this over his first 2 years in the majors. But a 16% walk rate, the potential downside for McKenzie is legitimately 2 innings, 6 or 7 earned runs. Like, letting runners on base against Toronto, as I said last night, is not going to end well, like 7 or 8 times out of 10. Now, sure, can he pitch himself out of trouble? As I've kind of mentioned, yes, if he gets that strikeout rate to shine and he gets these hitters to chase, he could go 5 innings and have 7, 8 strikeouts and only give up 2 earned runs. But the potential downside for him is massive with that fly ball rate and the walks allowed. So, yes, Toronto would be my number 1 stack. Do you have the White Sox or Reds ranked higher? I would go with the Reds. I'm going to lean with the Reds tonight. I like them slightly over the White Sox. For me, it would be Toronto. To rank my top stacks tonight would be Toronto, Cincinnati, New York, Chicago White Sox as my main 4. And then the secondary stacks would be Cleveland, Atlanta, Seattle for those. How do you like Stripling tonight? I don't. I will have 0 shares of Stripling. Stripling is a pitcher that when I go to make my lineups, it's unclicking his name, removing him from my player pool. Too many home runs, not a favor of that. Too many fly balls. Listen, if I get burned by Ross Stripling tonight, then I guess I'll just take that loss there and move on. But he is not a pitcher that I am comfortable with rostering, given some of the potential power on Cleveland. Better choice for value, Dickerson or Davis. Corey Dickerson on Toronto. If that lineup is confirmed, we're looking at a bit of a toss-up here that has been confirmed. Toronto, is he still minimum salary? He's still minimum salary. If he's batting 6th, right, this hasn't projected to bat 6th. If Corey Dickerson is batting 6th, you would want to take him over Davis, who's batting 9th, who's confirmed batting 9th. So wait till we get it's only 4:30, so just wait till we get the confirmed lineup for the Blue Jays. But if Dickerson's at 6th, you would want to take him because, again, as I mentioned yesterday, a player higher in the lineup, especially in a home team where if they're winning, they don't bat in the 9th. So they're always going to have lower expected plate appearances. Dickerson will always have more expected plate appearances at 6th over Davis at 9th. So I would lean towards Dickerson in that spot. And then DJ, final question. Do you play Donaldson? I assume you mean Josh Donaldson, despite the hamstring on Minnesota. Probably not. I understand why people go to Minnesota as a stack tonight. I just don't think, especially at the third base position overall, I think that there are better options that we can be going to, where I would want to take shares of DJ LeMahieu, who's a little bit cheaper, to get exposure to the Yankees, or I just would rather pay up for Austin Riley or Jonathan India to get exposure to offenses that I'm a little more confident tonight over Minnesota. Gallo or Stanton tonight, if you had to pick one to build New York stack around, was it Gallo is like he went and had 4 strikeouts last night. If there's any time for him to get his Yankee his like first hit at Yankee Stadium or whatever is going, I guess would be tonight. But are they the same salary? Do we know that? Gallo, Stanton. I mean, Stanton is cruising right now. It's tough. You have to take Stanton. You have to take Stanton in the righty-lefty matchup over Gallo in a lefty-lefty, despite his fly ball rate. All right, so that does it for today's Q&A. I think we're going to be in for plenty of scoring tonight, plenty of home runs, hopefully, plenty from the Reds, the Blue Jays, the Yankees, all of these sorts of teams. I will be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for the solo shot right here on the FanDuel YouTube page. You catch me tomorrow here at the same time, 4 o'clock on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook page, answering your questions. Tomorrow we have a 14-game slate, so there should be plenty of options. As always, you can find this on the FanDuel YouTube page. You can find me on Twitter at DFS_Tom. And until next time, good luck in your contest.